Welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, rock stars of the Kick-Ass Nation? It is I, Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach, back here with another exciting episode of the Raw and Unscripted show. And as always, we are here live on the video cast every single Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And people say, Chris, why is your show on so late? Well, the truth be told, I used to be on a podcast network. And when they approached me to be on the podcast network, I said, do you mind if I speak colorfully? In other words, do you mind if I use descriptive words like fuck and freight train and shit and crap and all sorts of different things? Because I speak honestly. I don't speak with the intention to put on airs that I'm somebody else that I'm not, because I am who I am and I speak that way. I cannot speak that way, of course, but this is all about authenticity. This is all about being real, raw, and unscripted, hence the name. So that's why we're on 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We encourage you guys listening on the podcast in all the different countries that you're in, tune in and ask me questions, engage with me. Let me know where you're coming from. If that's too much, if the time change is different, send me an email. You can send me an email, Christopher@ChristopherRausch.com, RAUSCH. You can send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. And of course, you can reach me on any form of social media at noexcusescoach. Actually, I just did something today. If you would do me a favor and support me on this, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can actually just hit hashtag No Excuses Coach in Google. And on the first page is my YouTube. You can go there, click there, hit subscribe, hit the alert bell, and say, hey, anytime Chris posts a video, I want to know about it. That would help me in reaching more people to make this world a better place. And that's my true intention. Tonight's program. What's up, Robert? Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everybody who's joining us, watching the replay. I know a lot of people on the East Coast watch it in the morning. So thank you so much, everybody who's watching and listening anywhere in this world. This tonight is truly raw and unscripted. And I will share this with you. In thinking about what topic I wanted to talk about tonight here on another solo show, I've got a couple of guests lined up, by the way. But here I wanted to talk about on the solo show was really encapsulating what's been going on in our world without choosing sides, without being political, because I see so many people being political and choosing sides and saying things out of a reaction rather than a response. And you lose credibility that way. You lose, you lose some things. So I have prided myself on being one who can bring different people together, different groups of people together, different ideologies together, different religions together, different sexualities together, bringing people together to have conversations, to seek to understand and then to be understood. And so when I thought about this, a lot of people have reached out to me over the last week. Of course, here in the United States, we had the shooting of Charlie Kirk. We just had a mass shooting in Minneapolis, I think on Sunday. There's been a lot of things going on in the world in general. I'm not one to watch the news. I'm not one to follow politics. I figure if it's important enough, it's going to come across in my Facebook. It's going to come across, somebody's going to send me a message with an article in one form of social media or another, from whatever quote unquote side you want to pick, because people send me all sorts of things because I look at things. I just thought about this, and people have reached out and asked me what my comments were, and feeling really frustrated and feeling really divided and feeling really disappointed, feeling all sorts of emotions. And so I thought tonight I would just allow myself the opportunity to share with you guys from my heart to yours what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about, what's going on in the world. And of course, as always, how we can look within ourselves, right? Because that's the only thing we can change. So many people are trying to change everybody else. They're trying to get them to change their view and change their opinion. I had someone reach out to me and they said, what's your opinion on what happened? And I said, nobody fucking cares about my opinion. Nobody really cares about my opinion. What people care about is saying what they believe and saying what they want to say in a reactionary moment, probably based on the fact, dude, what are you doing? I'm on my show. Thank you. Jackson's popping in. Ladies and gentlemen, my son Jackson is in the middle of, I'm trying to have a serious conversation, but thank you, buddy. I love you. And this really is a lot of him being in my life and being a dad, because I love him so much that what I see going on in the world frustrates me, and it disappoints me, and it saddens me. And people have reached out to me, and I thought, okay, what can I do? What can I do? I can't change what the government's doing. I can't change what's going on. Of course, I can go out there and exercise my right to vote, to my exercise to protest, to do all these different things to help my community. And so I really thought about that. I'm like, I think the world needs a message from my heart. And I want to share with you tonight, for those guys listening on the podcast and maybe who don't read the promos, here's what I wrote tonight. I really appreciate it. And so you're listening, I want you to get this, and then we're going to get into what I want to say, because again, it's going to be all from my heart. But I wrote here, if my days were numbered, what would I want my son Jackson to know about living a successful life? What would I tell the world if I only had one microphone and one shot to say it all? I have a microphone and I have a shot to say it. That's the space I'm stepping into tonight. No script, no ego, just heart, presence, and the truth as I see it. And the truth according to me, right? Not the truth, because oftentimes we say we want the truth and we tell people, I'm telling you the truth. But our recollection of what we hear and what we see and what we understand and what we experienced changes over time as our perceptions change. It changes based on our biases. So if you have a bias towards a particular opinion or a particular thing, chances are when those things crop up, your bias is going to create a reaction. It's called a trigger. And so what I've been asking people recently and asking my coaching clients is, why do you feel you were triggered by X? Because there's often a deeper meaning in what we get triggered by. What is the real thing that I'm frustrated about? What about my life is within this that I need to address for myself? Because oftentimes we're throwing and we're casting and we're projecting, but we're not taking a look at within ourselves. And that's something I've seen people do and I've seen people not do during this time. And just during the COVID time and the elections and different things I've had to observe over the last 5 years, and really over the last 6 years since I left my corporate position. But I want to continue reading what I wrote you because I'm really proud of this. Here's what I know. Success isn't about stuff. It's about people. It's about giving the best human experience we can everywhere we go. It's about being authentic, asking questions that matter, and seeking to understand before demanding to be understood. And I'm seeing a lot of people demanding to be understood. I'm seeing a lot of people who are looking for the people that agree with them. And if they don't agree with them, I saw a lot of this, and I posted this on social media because it really pissed me off, but I stayed neutral. And I just said, a lot of intelligent people are saying some really stupid shit. And I was hoping by that people would say, wonder if he's talking about me. And then going back and looking at their post, maybe they posted it a few hours ago. Maybe they posted it a couple of days ago. Oftentimes when the emotion resolves itself a little bit, we go back and look at it and go, man, I shouldn't have wrote that. And I will admit to you, there have been a few times in my life on social media where I've posted something in a reactionary state, felt justified. And yeah, fuck it. I don't give a shit. I don't care who sees this. And then I went back and I looked at it an hour later. And I'm like, ooh, does that lift people up? Does that contribute to the conversation? Is that just some narrow-minded opinion of what I think is going on? Is that based on fact? Is that anything that's going to serve someone else? And in some situations, it's hurtful. When I saw people sitting there saying, oh, if you think this is a good thing, then delete me. And I don't like you. And you're this and you're that. And the labels and the pointing. Can we please stop with the pointing and the labels and the generalization of all those people on the left, all those people on the right, all those people who believe in this, all those people that thought that, all those people that support this, right? It's not all those people. I'm a combination of people. And I know a lot of people that are a combination of people, but guess what? When we go to vote and we go to do things, we go to fill out forms, guess what? We have to label who we are. We have to label ourselves male, female, transsexual, whatever. We have to label ourselves how we vote. We have to label ourselves our religion, our set, whatever it might be. We have to label ourselves. And so what he did is we get in this category and it's us versus them. But if there's one thing I can get across to you tonight, it's not us versus them. Not in the traditional sense of that side versus this side here in the United States or here in the world. It's about us, community, humanity. It's about us deciding that we're not going to listen to what the big media is telling us and pharmaceuticals are telling us and the politicians are telling us. They're all fucking jacked up. They're all in with special interest groups. So what can we do? We can go to the mirror and we can say, am I happy with myself? Yes or no? Right? We're often wanting to change everything else. And we think, oh, if we had this president, we had this and we had that, and those laws were passed and we were teaching this in school, then I'd be fucking happy. Then those people would get what they, right? What is it about? And I'm seeing a lot of people getting really angry and those people, It's like, you got to resolve some of that stuff within yourself. And I love people that are passionate. I love people that want to make change, but just to say it and to point fingers and try to speak to an echo chamber and only speak to the people that agree with you, that's ridiculous. I mean, come on, man. Aren't we better than that? Aren't we better than that no matter where we're at in our life? There may have been a pattern of your life where you have agreed in a certain way. But I'm here, if you're listening to my voice, I'm here to say, can you look at it a different way? And sadly, what I'm seeing is a lot of people can't. I'm seeing my friends reach out to me like, Chris, I just don't know what to do. I feel like I'm helpless. I'm like, you know what? Give those people space. Give those people space, but also protect your boundaries, protect your values. There have been people that, on social media that I've hid, like snooze, whatever it is. And then there's also a question where I go back and I look at their timeline and I'm like, do they bring value to my life? Or are they just angry, bitter people? Are they smart people that are trying to make a change and actually involved in posting about the organizations that they're contributing to or volunteering for? Fuck yeah, let's do that. Let's make a change. Like, tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. How can we do this together? But just to be so angry and so bitter, right? And I posted things recently more along as a test, just to kind of see which people will support me and which people won't. And if anybody says anything, unfortunately, I am really blessed with a lot of people in my life who may not comment on it, but will reach out to me and say, Chris, I disagree with your point. And that's what I want. But I also don't want my contributions to the world to be divisive. And I get in this conversation with myself. I get in this conversation with a lot of people like, Chris, what example are you setting for your son by not picking a side, not being established in that? I'm like, what I'm teaching my son is that honestly, right now, I don't know what the truth is, right? I talked about the truth before. I don't know what the truth is. When I research something, I literally was telling my coaching client this the other day. She goes, oh, I searched it. And I said, how many times did you search it? She goes, once. And I said, I read at least 6 or 7 different resources. If I'm looking up a drug that I'm about to take, I look at like 6 or 7 different resources and I look for the patterns. What are they all saying the same? What are they saying differently? Why are they saying something differently? Who are they backed by? And I start digging into this and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the source of that information isn't exactly correct. The other 5 people are saying to do this. So I'm going to do that. Right. And then what I do is I say, okay, I've got that information. Then let me go talk to an expert and ask them their opinion. But so often we just take things at face value. I see so many people, again, posting stuff that's not accurate. So I'll take a few minutes and I will go Google if that thing is accurate. And I'll go on Snopes or I'll go on whatever. I'll just go on Google and I'm like, is this accurate? Is this fake? Oh, no, what the person who gave an opinion piece from some whatever agency or news corporation or whatever gave an opinion. It wasn't factual. It was based on what they thought, but somebody said, oh, this is factual. This is from here. See, I told you so. And we shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be like that. I have lost so much respect for people who are super intelligent, super caring, and do all these things, but then they come across that way. It's like, where is your true nature from? And so I've let people go, and that's something we have to do. But in this conversation, what I want to continue to share with you, what I wrote in the podcast intro that I really took a lot of time to think about, was I want you to walk away knowing that we're more the same than we are different. And I believe that. And I believe that I've got friends and connections all over the world. All over the world. This podcast reached like almost 40 countries. I know people in all aspects of religions and sexual orientations and backgrounds and shit they've been through. I've been doing this podcast for 6.5 years. I did a live radio show for 5 years. I've been interviewing people for a long time. Not to mention that I've been in personal development and leadership and all these different things. I've been out in the world. And when I say that we're all more the same than we are different, it is so emphatically true. Right? You put 50 Trump supporters and 50 fucking whoever supporters, you get 50 of different groups and you put them in the room. And instead of saying what's different, right? What's different? Who did you vote for? How can I find out something different about you? How do I find out I have an edge above you? How do I find out I'm superior than you? If you're thinking those thoughts in your head, you need to go get checked. You need to go talk to a therapist and say, what unresolved childhood issues do I have that perhaps I'm taking out on myself and I'm taking out on other individuals that I don't know about? And I've done that. I've gone to therapy and asked, like, what am I subconsciously doing? How am I? And I didn't realize this, but I went to a therapist. She asked me a bunch of questions and I found out I was self-sabotaging myself. And she asked me some questions, and I'm like, I'm sabotaging myself. She goes, when did that become acceptable? And I said, it's not. And guess what I started doing? I started paying attention to that, right? We all need help. I've been through therapy in different times of my life, and I'm actually really considering going back because I love the aspect of being able to be honest with somebody and get their opinion and be able to talk to them about something without feeling judgment or anything else. Like, they hear it all, right? What are you doing in your life to fix and help your mental health? Is your mental health all about making other people feel wrong and insecure? Or is your opportunity in life to lift people up? And more than ever, as I continue to write here, unity is possible when we choose solutions over problems and love over fear. And that may hit you the wrong way, right? How can I love? I mean, if I asked you, how can you love somebody you disagree with? How can you love that person? If that person was having a heart attack at Disneyland and they were wearing a I love Trump shirt, would you just walk by? And I know people have said that they will walk by. I know that I don't know this. Let me correct my phraseology here. And please don't sit there and pick every word I say apart, because I think that's asinine that everybody's doing that. What was I going to say? I have so much to say and I'm so passionate about this, but some people will feel weird about love, right? I extend love to everybody. I give people hugs. I make people smile. I genuinely love to understand people. Where did you get that opinion from? Or how did you arrive at that? And it's not always easy, especially when it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, or the person's volatile. But hey, what is the root of that? Like, and what do you really want? And I've asked people over the years, like, all politics aside, like, what do you really want? Prosperity for my family, freedom, safety, opportunity, equality, equanimity, fairness, rules to be enforced, right? There's so many people out there. Oh, the rules, right? Let's not get nitpicky about the rules, because when people sit there and talk about immigrants and all that stuff, you kind of peel back the onion and go back, we're all immigrants. And when you really think about that, I live in Southern California. You go back and you look at the native Indians, right, in the United States, and you look at what the white man did to the Indians. Like, go back and do a little bit of research, right? And I get a lot of people saying, like, oh, history repeats itself, and we're in that phrase every 70 years that we do this, and this is what this happens, and da da da. And I've argued the point with people. I'm like, but does it have to? Does history have to repeat itself? Does it have to fully break free before it repairs? Do we have to hit rock bottom before we stop and say, you know what? I know where I'm going with this. I know if I continue to do what I've done, I'm going to continue to get what I've got. So how about if I decide to break some of the patterns that perhaps make me unhappy, or make me feel lonely, or make me feel unintelligent? Perhaps if I start to break some of those patterns and work on myself, perhaps my perspective and my expectations for everyone else will start to change. And I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but I know it will, because I've coached hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people by now, one-on-one and in groups. I have a group coaching, by the way, if you're interested in that. It's so about that. It's so about that. And it's so about the core of who we are with our self-worth. Because I find people who have trouble with their identity, who have trouble with their ego, who have trouble with their emotional self-control, maybe perhaps their emotional intelligence, struggle. And they struggle with outside events, allowing those to influence them negatively, and then blame those events for why they're upset. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. What's up, guys? I had the thing I was reading in front of my comments thing, and I look at all these beautiful people here tonight. We got Robert in the house. We got Andrew Rimkus in the house. He says, sounds like a St. Francis prayer. I have no idea, dude. Dennis Nermella from China says, good morning, brother. Good morning, Dennis. I can't wait to read your book. And again, like I said before, we got people all over the world. Dennis actually used to live here in Southern California. Now lives in China. We're going to be talking about that. He wrote a book about living in China from an American's point of view. So we're going to dig into that and find out what falsehoods and what misconceptions and what assumptions we've been making about it, right? Because we all do that. When you think about how many times you make an assumption in a day. Oh, yeah. Where did you get that information? Well, that's what I assumed. And we make logical assumptions. We put facts together that we think, and we go, okay, if it walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. But that logic doesn't happen much anymore sometimes, right? It could walk like a duck and sound like a duck. It could be a duck, but people will say, no, it's an ostrich. And so you need to have patience. And that's what I think a lot of people are learning right now is the opportunity for patience. And patience is uncomfortable, and it takes strength, and it takes courage, and it takes discipline. And a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want to do that. But I find that the people in my life who are more like me and loving and understanding and seek to understand, and not that I'm perfect. Fucking hell, I'm not perfect. Trust me, I have a reaction to everything. I'm human. But what I've done is I've incorporated the ideologies and the questions that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit to reframe my focus and reframe my perspective. Because when I stopped making it about everybody else and I started making it about me in terms of my values, my boundaries, and what I would tolerate, and also my positive self-talk and surrounding myself with people I didn't feel that I had the obligation to save, when I started protecting my self-love and started doing the things that I wanted to do and being me, guess what? I started being a better person. And guess what I stopped doing? I stopped drinking as much. I stopped being much of an asshole. I stopped all these different things because guess what? I was happy inside. I didn't need, once I got happy inside, I didn't feel the need to have to please everybody. Right. And I see a lot of people out there who are not people pleasing anybody. And I think that's kind of sad in a way, right? Don't be an asshole about your opinion. Make it a point to sit there and say, hey, listen, how can I see things differently? And I've invited people to do that. And I've been both amazed and surprised at the responses. And so what I wanted to do tonight is really kind of stress to you that we have to consider what is really within our control. Because ultimately, when it comes down to fear is about not being in control. I'm afraid of flying. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of the dentist. Okay. But realistically, is my fear justified? Or said differently, what can I do to change the emotion of fear into something in terms of excitement? I was just helping somebody yesterday. We were talking about redundant things that you have to do as part of your goal setting. Oh, I have to write down my calories ingested and blah, blah, blah. It's so boring and it's so tedious, right? But when you think about the bigger picture, you think about the bigger picture of who you're becoming and how you're changing and the possibilities, right? The possibilities for me, I used to be so outspoken and loudmouth and in my opinion and da-da-da-da. And then I started learning that I could be right or I could be happy. One of the fundamental philosophies of my life, my wife laughs at me. Do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And I saw my mother her entire life have to be right. Now, when you think about this, if I have to be right, like you and I are having a conversation, right? And I have to be right. I'm trying to prove you wrong. Prove you wrong. Dennis, Robert, Jacqueline, I'm trying to prove you wrong. Even when I say that, what does your physiology do? Your physiology tenses up. No, really? And you start thinking about all the things and how you're going to defend yourself. Fight, flight, or freeze. How am I going to defend myself? So the right or happy thing, I have to make you wrong. I win. Right? It goes back to our childhood. Did you win or lose? If you're a winner, you're great. If you're a loser, you suck. Second place is the first place loser. I hate that. I also don't like participation trophies, if you want my opinion on that. But again, I wrote here, the unity is possible when we choose solutions over problems, love over fear. That life isn't about scrolling through someone else's highlight reel, which I'm seeing people do. Oh, that person's doing this. Don't. I said, here, it's about drinking in the moments with your kids, your friends, your partner, and your community. If today was your last day, and I want you to really think about this, because this is going to fucking happen. We're all dying. We're all in the process of dying. Some of us are actually living while we die or while we go through this journey, right? I don't think about it as in terms of dying. I am happy with the person I'm at 56. I'm worried and scared and all those other sorts of things. So when I think about that, I spin that and think I'm excited. Like I watch and I look at technology and I'm excited about artificial intelligence in the terms of what it's doing on how it's understanding how our genes are structured, our cells are structured. They can recreate a fucking steak in a petri dish now. I'm excited that there's a possibility I may choose to be able to live to 150. There's a possibility that I could choose to grow my hair back. There's a possibility It will happen, ladies and gentlemen. I told my wife yesterday, I said, I'm just holding out for when they come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your spine replaced, come on in today and we're going to give you a $6 million spine for $39.95. And I know it's going to happen, that someday I'll be able to get a fucking bionic spine. So if I can hold out that long and I can have that positivity and excitement about what's coming next and use that to override the fear, right? And then we have to look at something like, if I'm angry about something, am I in a loving state or am I in a fearful state? And my buddy Scott Goyette, I don't know if he's watching tonight, my co-host of the Unfiltered Experience, and we've actually talked about, I know you guys used to watch both of the shows, we've actually talked about doing some special shows coming up. So we haven't done one in a while, but we talked about always, timely events and doing that. So stay tuned for that. But again, I wrote here, if today was your last day, would the way you showed up be how you want to be remembered? And so I was just sharing this with a coaching client the other day. They were talking about being frustrated in the moment. I was thinking about this for myself. Because as you know, I will always be 100% authentic, transparent with you guys. And my son asked me recently, he says, Dad, do you think we have this thing every night where he can ask me 2 or 3 questions, and we're doing this. We're actually going to be launching a podcast pretty soon. You saw him coming here earlier. He said, can I ask you a couple questions? And I said, yeah, buddy. And he's always creative questions, or he asked me a question. He said, if your mom, do you think you wouldn't be as mad if your mom didn't hurt you as much? And I was like, whoa. You want to talk about truth? You want to talk about perception? I mean, I give that kid tons of love. I give him tons of kisses, tell him I love him, tell him I support him, tell him all these things. But yet, even all through that, his perception is that sometimes I'm angry or I'm cranky. And of course, as a parent, we have to pick up your stuff, so how many times do I have to tell you? Sometimes we have to escalate our frustration in order for them to understand the impact of the situation. So I also said to him, I said, would you agree that daddy or mommy has to ask you to do something 4 to 7 times? Yeah, sometimes. Mike, well, that's frustrating. Can you imagine? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, so that's kind of where I have to get to that point, because would you agree? Right? Speaking, communication, relationships. I used to teach this stuff. I used to do all sorts of lectures and training workshops on this. So I know about this. So the communication, right? You get them to see it from their perspective. Could you understand how I would be frustrated? Yeah. And I said, so if you don't want me as frustrated and angry, when I come in and say, hey, Jax, we got to get ready for school, you sit there and say, okay, Dad. And then you hustle and you do it, as opposed to me having to come back and check on you every 5 minutes and go, why haven't you done it? Why haven't you done it? Can you stop doing that? That's why I'm getting cranky. And so there was that give and take, even with an 8-year-old. Got on his level, looked him in the eye. Do you have any other questions? Have I answered what's bothering you? And again, thank you. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you, because my perception, my understanding, my assumption was that everything was fine. I give him all sorts of love. And yeah, of course, I'm frustrated and my back hurts. And, I acknowledge that and I take ownership of that. That's why I'm constantly trying to fix that. So where in your life, perhaps is there some truth that you don't want to face? And in that truth, like I said here, how do you want to be remembered? Because today could be your last day. That last conversation with your mom, your wife, your brother, your son, your friend, your business colleague, that could have been the last conversation. And I just had somebody that I know, my friend posted yesterday, she passed away. People pass away. It happens, and it happens suddenly, and it's sad and it sucks. And so I think about that for me, like, am I being the best dad I can be today in this moment? I was just playing baseball outside with my son, and I knew I had to get in here, and I usually want to get in here and kind of relax and get ready for the show. But it was so important for him to play baseball. I'm like, you know what? I'm just speaking from the heart anyway. I was down there participating and being involved, and I came in here and did my thing, and I'm doing it now. Right? So when you think about this, like, for you, are you raising your own standards? Yes or no? Am I raising my standard for myself keeping my promises? Am I raising my standard for being understanding and loving and empathetic for people going through stuff that I don't understand? Right? We don't understand what everybody's going through. People don't just run around. I mean, it's better now than it's ever been. People talking about their mental health, but a lot of people right now are struggling. They're working 2 or 3 jobs. They're leaving their kids at home because they can't afford babysitters. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And you're sitting there going, why can't you do this? And that person's barely hanging on. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been barely hanging on and people expect everything out of you? And you're just like, what the fuck do you want from me? That's what the world's kind of saying right now. And so instead of pointing fingers at people and saying you're wrong and you're stupid and you're ignorant and you're a leftist or you're a rightist or you're a dumbass or you're a narcissist or a fascist or a fucking whatever it is, how about let's not do the labels? And if I can get through to 1, 2, 3, 5, 20 of you, and then you guys start talking about that in your social circles, right? Maybe make it a challenge among your friends group and say, hey, let's do a 30-day challenge where we don't bitch. I just posed that to my group coaching clients last night. And I'm thinking about it for myself. 30 days, no complaining. You write it down. Actually, I'm most likely, let's just make a commitment right now. I'm going to do this. So I'll post it in the Raw Unscripted group. If you're not following us on Facebook, we have a Raw Unscripted group that's associated with the podcast. So let's do a 30-day challenge where for 30 days, if you complain, you write it down on a yellow piece of paper. And then there's going to be a follow-up to that. And I'm going to do it too, because I complain just like the rest of you guys. I don't do it as much. And I catch myself and I'm like, instead of complaining, Chris, what can I be grateful for right now in this moment? Because it really is about where you focus. When I took a motorcycle training class, the big thing they said is look to where you want to go. This goes in your life, guys. Look to where you want to go, not where you've been, where you are going. Like, if I continue to do what I've done, this is what's going to happen. If I continue to eat like shit and not exercise, I'm going to have health issues. That's a fact. Pretty much. I mean, I'm not a fucking doctor. Don't come back and say, Chris, it's not a fact. You know, people, whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing people dealing with that now. Oh, yeah, my blood numbers and this number, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. They get into their 50s and now they got fucking all sorts of things. They got inflammation, they got pain, they got sciatica, they got diabetes. I have so many people going through blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication. They have to go on medications for those things. Then they get on testosterone and they get on estrogen. And then their fucking hormones are all fucked up. But guess what? Here's what I think. Here's what I believe. Here's what I do. I wake up in the morning and I say what I'm grateful for. Because so oftentimes how we start our day is an indication of how our day is going to go. But a lot of people pick this thing up. I'm holding my cell phone for everybody listening. We pick the cell phone up, and what's on our cell phone? What's on our main page? Headlines, the notifications that we allow in our life. I encourage you, just as a side note, to go into your notification setting on whatever phone you have and really carefully choose what you want to be notified about. I don't get news notifications. Fuck that. There's a breaking news story every 30 seconds. Do you want to live in that fight or flight? Do you want to live on constant edge? What's going to happen next? I have everybody asking me, what's going to happen next? I wonder what's going to happen where. I got to watch the news. I got to see what's happening next. I got to be on social media. When you're doing all that, guess what? Your attention is where? Positive or negative? It's on something negative, right? Yeah, I got to be informed. I understand that. Guess what? I got to be informed too, but I'm not about it taking over my life. I'm not about it infiltrating who I am as a person. So I'm a shittier husband, or I'm a terrible coach, or I'm a bad dad, or I'm an angry dad, or I'm a frustrated driver, right? And I see people, getting on their high horse and doing that, and good for you. I'm not trying to change you. I'm trying to bring around awareness that if we all started doing just a little bit better for ourselves and started treating our community and people a little bit better, guess how that would bleed out? And here's the thing that crushes my heart when I think about this is the kids, right? Jackson is 8 years old. He's grown up through COVID. He's seen the reactions of myself and my wife and my mother-in-law when she lived here during COVID. She saw what they experienced, and good or bad or indifferent, that's helped shape who he is. And so those inputs, seeing one situation, seeing another situation, he's formulating his reality based on that. And that's what he's going to think is right or wrong. So I feel sorry for the kids who have parents who aren't explaining this stuff to them. We sit down with Jackson, we talk about what's going on in the world. At 5 years old, at 6 years old, at 7 years old, we put it to him in those terms and said, but you make the choice for yourself. But here is what is going on. And obviously relation to what he can handle as a kid. But it's not about sugarcoating stuff. It's about that real conversation. Like, here's what's going on. Here's why it's so important to vote. Here's why it's so important to read the initiatives. Here's why it's so important to, if you have a problem, right? Somebody posted the other day, so many people are complaining on social media, but how many people have reached out to their congressperson? How many people have reached out to their ward, city council ward representative in their area if they're frustrated with something? Right. So oftentimes we just keep it to ourselves and we bottle it inside, and that creates that tension. That creates, I'm trying to think of the word. It creates stress, cortisol in our systems. So when you think about your actions, you think about what you're doing. For me, will my legacy today be such that it fulfills the eulogy that I would have read in a proper funeral? So if you've never done it, write your eulogy, number one. So I wrote my eulogy back in 2008, and it's been the guidepost for my life since then. And the crux of it, when I wrote it, was Christopher Rausch will fight for what's right and what's fair. He will risk for which that mattered, and he will left the earth, the world a better place for who he was and what he did. And some people argue with me about what's right and what's fair. So I believe what I'm saying right now is right and fair, that we all deserve love and attention and understanding and community, and not to be called names, and not to be felt like an asshole or an idiot or whatever. Like, I admit I'm not the most intelligent person when it comes to the news. I mean, I say that, but I'm pretty smart. I used to be a news junkie. I used to be a political junkie way back in the day, probably about 10 years ago. But again, personal example, yelling at the television at 10 o'clock at night. Swear to God, hand on a Bible, yelling at the television at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. Might have been 11. And I'm like, there's nobody around. Nobody's listening to me. Television can't hear me. But am I physically frustrated? Is my blood pressure up? Is my pulse rate up? Am I sweating? Am I tense? Yeah. Is that good? No. Was I doing anything about it? Not really. No, just going to work on Monday and complaining with my coworkers about it. Oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? Yeah, that sucks. And I would have done this. And nah. If you're going to do something, then get involved, right? If you don't like what's happening in the school district, get involved on the school board. I know somebody who kept bitching and complaining, and I said, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. And I said, why don't you get on the school board? Got on the school board, eyes wide open. Assumptions galore, right? Let's stop making assumptions. Let me get some of these people. What's up, Nelly? They got Nelly in the house. Andrew says here, yo, I am, hello, y'all. I'm in the planet. Okay. Sorry. I don't have my glasses on. Jacqueline Rose in the house. People saying hi to one another. Jacqueline says, I always say what I can do today that can change my life tomorrow. Yeah. Well, what can change your life today? Right? When you're doing something, you think, is this improving my life or taking away from my life? Yeah. Right. What can I do today? And for me, I'll go back to this. When I wake up in the morning, say what I'm grateful for. The next thing, I set my intentions. My intention today is to be a present and playful dad. My intention today is to be a loving and serving husband. My intention today is to say something and do something in such a way that it helps lift humanity. And I mean that. Can I go out and make people smile? I make people smile. I make people think. I ask them about their day. I know without a doubt, I make a positive impact in the world every single day. Maybe, no, I mean, yeah, even Sundays too. Maybe not Sundays. Let me just be careful about that. Again, looking at what we're saying, right? Being aware. I talk about the AAA. Awareness, acceptance, action. I got to be aware. Number two, I'm aware. Number two, I got to accept it. It is what it is. I have had people, oh, they should stop AI and da-da-da. AI is not fucking stopping. If you didn't see my episode a couple of weeks ago, I talked about there is no normal. There is no normal. Where does that? Podcast number 333, September 16th. Normal is gone. And in that, I quoted a bunch of statistics about how many jobs are going to be replaced and done away with. The data is frightening. The data is frightening. Go back and watch that show. I won't get into that stuff, but that was an eye-opening show as well. And I'm doing these because I care and I love about you guys. And maybe I've never met you, I've talked to you guys, but I love and care about humanity because in my world, call me crazy. Call me crazy. I would love to have leadership in different countries instead of getting on the microphone and saying you're going to hell. How can we help you? How can we help everybody else? How can we align and make sure that AI in our different countries isn't going to sabotage our safety? How come we can't do that? And I believe that there's an opportunity for that. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that the kids that are growing up now are looking at their parents and looking at people going, and I don't know this for a fact, but I've read articles where they're like, no, we don't have to do this. We don't have to be like this. And so I pray that there's people that get into politics, that get into service, and that want to change things and genuinely want to collaborate across party lines. And like, how about let's just say there's no fucking lines, and how about let's just say we're all in this together. We're in this together to make our climate better. We're in this together to make our future better. We're in this to have a good time and to be healthy and to love one another. Right? Robert says here, what I said makes sense. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Nelly says, these are such important points to address. Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it. Andrew says, I have to find out about through your eyes. But no, I have to find out about me through your eyes. Yeah. That's a great way of saying it, Andrew. Andrew also says communication, contact, connection. Couldn't agree with you more. Jacqueline here. And again, we invite you guys to be here live because then I get to interact with you guys. And I appreciate you so much for being here and sharing this and having this conversation with me. It's so important. Jacqueline says here, she goes, this might sound weird, but I thank God I have diabetes. Why? Because there is a couple of people I deal with. I would end up being a rip-roaring alcoholic. I can't drink. It brings up my sugar. Yeah. So there's a perfect example. Thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing that. There's a perfect example for something that most people would find frustrating or wouldn't want it, that they're thankful for it. And to continue on with that, Jacqueline, I've had so many people say, I'm so glad I got cancer. I'm so glad I had a heart attack. I'm so glad I had a stroke. I'm so glad I had that accident. I'm so glad I lost my job. I'm so glad I got divorced. I'm so glad, whatever it might be. But here's the thing. We think something's going to be so awful, or we think something's so awful right now. But when we shift our perspective and you realize, when have I learned and grown the most? When have I learned and grown the most? When things were tough, right? I sit there and I look back when I got let go from my corporate job in 2019. I had been doing my coaching and my speaking and everything on the side for many, many years. So I had my side hustle and I kept asking myself, when am I going to do it full time? But I was very comfortably miserable. I made a lot of money. I had a great job, great team, loved what I did. But when I got invited to leave after 26 years of loyal service in one day, just like, you need to go, I went through a lot. I didn't know I was going to go through a lot with my identity and so much, my relationships, things I did, things I regretted, things I would have done differently. The frustration and the disappointment and how I was treated, that caused me to go through a lot of different emotions and a lot of different points for me to pause and think more about what I was feeling. And like, okay, I'm feeling rejected. I'm feeling misunderstood. But what do I own in that? Right? And now when I look back, it couldn't have happened at a better time. All of that. I don't want to repeat it. It was a miserable experience, but it was also the catapult for me to sit there and say, I'm not going back to corporate. I'm going to own who I am. And then what happened? I literally got let go in November of 2019. And I think it was November 7th at 6:33 in the morning. Don't ask me why I remember that. We remember those weird things in our life, right? Then in March of 2020, we had COVID. So had I been working, I would have been gone all the time. I would have been here. I would have been stressed out. It would have been, I don't even know how my buddy did it. But instead I got the opportunity to be a dad. At that time, Jackson, let's see, it's 5 years old. So he was 3. Yeah. So I got an opportunity. We set up we set up a pre-K. My mother-in-law was teaching him. We got the system going down. So I got an opportunity to be a dad, present and playful dad. I got a chance to do two other podcasts and impact tons more people and meet more people. I got a chance to do Clubhouse and be in all these rooms. I just posted about it a couple of days ago or yesterday. Clubhouse, man, I was in there with so many bright individuals and making amazing conversations during COVID and during the political stuff that was going on during the shooting or the strangulation. Pardon me, I'm forgetting his name. The gentleman that was strangled in Minneapolis, I believe it was. So much stuff, and so I look back on that with pride and with accomplishment, and knowing that people still hit me up today. Man, those Clubhouse rooms, you changed lives. And my life was changed too, because I got to serve and I got to hear people in those moments, black, white, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, people coming together, nobody seeing each other, just listening to each other's voices and hearing the empathy, right? That's all we had, is the ability to hear people's voices. And it was so amazing, because you would hear people and they would get on like, thank you. That's the most positive thing I've heard in so long. That makes my heart feel great. You know, people saying and people crying, saying, we don't have these conversations where I'm at. I've never had one of these. And so we have the opportunity to take our take our challenges and our trials and our tribulations and make ourselves stronger. And then what do we do when we get stronger? The hero's journey, right? If you haven't watched it, go on YouTube and type in the Joseph Campbell story, the hero's story, the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell story. Sorry. It's about an hour and 23 minutes. There's a bunch of different things on there. But when you watch it, you realize how life is, and you watch it and you realize how movies are constructed. The hero goes and does all these things, comes back victorious, and we cry and we feel like, because we want that for ourselves. We want to be the victor in our story. So I encourage you to become that victor in your story. It is so important. Nellie says here, all of this is so important to teach us. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and again, honestly, from the heart, I'm doing this and saying this and listening to myself as well. Right? Because I pride myself on being congruent. Back in 2016, I stopped being a coach. I stopped everything personal development, and I just tried to be normal. And I had to go through the valley of the dark soul, whatever you call it, the night of the dark soul. Again, another period of my life that I do not want to repeat, but was so impactful because I took a step back. I took a step back and I looked. And I thought, does this make me happy anymore? Does this make me fulfilled anymore? Does this bring me joy? Right? In your life, does this person bring me joy? Does this, right? And so oftentimes we continue doing things. Oh, I have to do that. I had a coaching client not too long ago. Oh, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. I'm like, well, what if you died and it didn't get done? Would your kids not have clean clothes? Would your kids not have lunches? Would your husband, what would they do? Because I guess they would figure it out. So you don't have to do everything. You don't have to take everything on. You don't have to be right about everything. You don't have to say something about everything, right? Take that pause button. Take that pause button. What else? Oh, George Floyd. Yes. Thank you so much, Nellie. Yeah. Thank you. My brain was on escape. So here's what I want you to think about. And you guys know I'm about questions. Where are we at? 47 minutes. So I want to give you some questions that I thought about that we can all answer for ourselves. So I encourage you to write these down. Write them down. If you can't write them down, you're listening, you're driving, running, you guys can always go back and play this again and repeat this. I'll let you guys know in the audio that we're at the 47-minute mark. So here's the question number 1. If my days were numbered, and all of our days are numbered, what truths would I want to leave behind for the people that I love the most? Again, if my days were numbered, what truths would I want to leave behind for the people that I love the most? So I think about it in terms of me and Jackson. I started creating a list, and I have all sorts of lists. Like I told my wife, go on my Evernote. There is tons and tons of things where I've written letters to Jackson, but for me, I'm like, I created an acronym years ago, WWITJ. What would I tell Jackson? And so I started creating, I use Evernote. So that's where I gather all my thoughts. And I started creating a document. Like if I knew I had 6 months to live, what advice would I give my son now at 56? My advice probably at 50 and 46 would be a lot different. So what is my advice at 56? What legacy? And then when we think about that, like, am I my values in alignment with that? Am I walking my talk? I see a lot of people in the personal growth space, love, unity, but I see what they're posting. I'm like, yeah, no. Angry people putting on airs that they're not. And people can argue with me. And if you're taking offense to this, listening to this or watching this, I'm probably not talking about you. But if you're thinking about that I am talking about you, then there's an indication that you should probably take a look at yourself. Right? And I look at that like, oh, why am I getting offended about that? I ask myself, why am I getting so offended? Why am I getting butthurt? I'll be honest. Why is that pissing me off? Oh, because my expectation is this. Okay. Is my expectation realistic? I think it is. I think it's common sense. We think things are common sense, but have we communicated that expectation to the person that we're involved with? Have we communicated that expectation to our partner, to our son, to our friend, to our kid, to our coworker? And oftentimes we haven't. Well, they should just know. Again, thinking about ourselves through this process and what's going on in the world, it's so easy to blame and say, oh, I'll be happy when, or I'm so frustrated right now, I can't be happy. I guarantee you, if you're in a hospital and you got diagnosed with cancer and you had 3 days to live, the rest of this shit wouldn't fucking matter. And I want to remind you For those of you guys who are listening, I'm spinning my fingers in the air. We're on a spinning blue marble in space. I think we just heard that we received a radio transmission that's 10 billion light years away. We're not alone. We know that there's alien activity. So let me ask you this. Is worrying and frustrating and all those different things about everything that's going on, is that getting you anywhere? Is that improving your relationships? Is that improving your health? Is that improving your stress? Is that improving what it is that you're doing? And I know some people are taking this and they're stocking up on supplies because they think the world's going to end. I think, and no offense to people, but I think the world was supposed to end today. People were telling me the rapture was coming, and I said, hey, if it comes, then cool. If I'm hoping with my family, I wasn't worried about it. I heard people were standing out naked because they didn't think that they could get pulled up. I don't know. There's things in the world to look at and to explore. But for those people, I can sit here and be tongue in cheek about it, but for those people, that's their reality. So instead of me being that way, I can sit there and I can go, okay, well, that's their truth. Just like my son's truth. As much as I didn't want it to be the truth, it's the truth. And that's the truth for them. And so be it. Go party. Go do whatever it is that you need to do. Don't be an asshole about it. I look at things in life from a very, very large view. Is it illegal, immoral, or unethical? Is it illegal, immoral, or unethical? So again, going back to the questions. So first one, if my days were numbered, what truths would I want to leave behind for the people I love the most? Am I acting in accordance? Would I be happy with the actions that I did today? No, I was short. I've been short lately. Okay, what do I need to do differently? Maybe I need to lower my caffeine intake. Maybe I need to increase my cardiovascular exercise. Maybe I need to look at oil of primrose. Ladies, if you've not heard about this, oil of primrose will help your emotions, right? Maybe if you find yourself being a bitch or a dick all the time, maybe go have your Nelly, what's the word I'm looking for? Have your levels checked. I just had 100 biomarkers tested in my blood, 100 different things in my blood, and also 5 pre-cancer screenings. So you got to go do these things and figure out, like, if you're not feeling good, and then you take care of that and then you feel better, guess what? You're probably not going to be as angry. All right, let's get back to questions. I'm sorry. How do my actions, not my words, teach my kids, friends, and family what matters most? Again, that ties into that. Here's another question. In what ways am I choosing fear over love or problems over solutions? And what shift could I make right now? Again, going back to that awareness, acceptance, and action. What shift can I make right now? I promise for the next 30 days to, when I see something that pisses me off, to think about it and why it's really pissing me off. And maybe I will reach out to that person and say, hey, I saw your post and here's something that I don't understand. Can you help me understand that? And if it's somebody you care about and you like, hey, can I jump on a call with you? So oftentimes we're doing things over this, right? And I can tell you again, from being a communications expert, body language is 85%, depending on what statistics you look at, 85% of all communication is body language. So for people who are listening right now, you're listening in my voice. You're listening for the authenticity. You're listening to see if I'm an egotistical jerk. And you can tell by the way I talk that it's all sincere. It's all from the heart. So when you get on a phone call, you get on a Zoom and you have a conversation with people, would you be willing to say what you said behind the keyboards? Would you say that to the person in front of you? Chances are you wouldn't, right? A lot of brave warriors behind the keyboard. Yeah, no, I have friends that, again, from all different perspectives, and we'll jump on a call and we'll talk about it. Hey man, I agree with you this, I agree with you that. Me and my buddy, Walt, we talk about it. Some things we agree on. Overall, we agree on what we want. It's just the different experiences, the different perceptions. He was in the military, different things, that all shapes who we are. But again, he'll say things for me to think about, and I'll say things for him to think about. And we walk away and say, hey man, it was great talking with you. Another question. In what ways am I, we already did that one. When people remember me, what do I want them to say about how I showed up in their lives? Again, thinking about that. It's, you see the key, you see the string here. Who am I being? Do I like who I'm being? Do I like myself? I did over 300 introductory or free coaching sessions during COVID for 2 years, did about 300 of them. And I started noticing patterns. So I started asking people, I heard this little whisper in my head that said, ask them this. And I said, do you love yourself? Yes or no? And I thought people were, yeah, what a stupid fucking question. You call yourself a life coach? Literally had that in my head. And I started asking people, do you love yourself? Yes or no? No, yeah, sort of. I don't know. Maybe for the most part. I don't know. No. Do you like yourself? No. Why? I've done some stupid shit in my life. Okay, let's talk about that. Like, what would you do differently? How could you make amends about that? Have you apologized for it? Did you realize that because you did that, now you're this person and now you won't do that anymore? Yeah. Okay. So thinking about that. Here's a great question for you, and something I posed to some people recently and giving them challenges. How much of my time is spent on screens versus creating real life moments that matter? And I put that extra part on there, that matter. So you can go on your phone. I have an iPhone. You can go on your phone. And you can see what your screen time is every week. Now, if you're using your phone to YouTube solutions and Google solutions, but if you're doom scrolling and you're doing like looking for the validation of why you believe what you believe, and you're not creating moments and you're not helping yourself. And if you spend more time scrolling and complaining and posting and all that other shit than you spend meal planning and going and talking to a mental health expert and talking to people in person and asking them what they feel and what they think and having that truth and having those honest conversations, if you're doing this more than you're doing that, if you're within the sound of my voice, how about changing that? What the fuck is on your phone that's so important that you can't go out and experience life? I just saw a commentary that because so many people are using ChatGPT for creative reasons, like I use it to help my stuff, but I don't use it to be creative, that you start turning off parts of your brain. When you stop being creative and you stop doing that, guess what? Parts of your brain start to shut down. And that's where dementia and Alzheimer's and all those different things start to come in. That's why they talk about, playing solitaire or, hand-eye coordination, doing crossword puzzles, creating moments that matter. We have a ton of board games downstairs. So instead we find ourselves like, okay, we've been watching too much television. We've been on a Netflix binge. We've been on our devices, whatever. Let's play a game. Let's play a game. Guess what? In the other room, we have puzzles. We bought a puzzle thing because we didn't want to do puzzles because the cats jump on the thing. So we bought a puzzle protector. It's got puzzles to do. Got video games, got music, got guitars, got all sorts of stuff. We were just outside playing baseball. I mean, not baseball, but you know what I mean? So what moments are you specifically creating in your life? Can you go out and sit in the front yard and enjoy a sunset? Can you go out in your back patio and read a book? Can you listen to music? Can you take up art? Can you take up a hobby? Can you pick up a hobby that you had before? Right? Let's live life. Let's be in the moments. Let's be intentional with our actions and our words and our feelings, because the asshole that said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me deserves a throat punch with a fucking chair. Words have meaning and they have lasting impact. So what are you doing to help people? What are you doing to lift people's spirits? And here's the last question. What's on my bucket list? And what's one step I can take toward that this week? We talk about, if I won the lottery, I have so many people. What would you do if you won the lottery? I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. Have you ever written any of that down? Nope. Have you ever done anything to make it happen? Nope. You're hoping, wishing, and praying that you win the lottery? Yep. What if it doesn't happen? That'd suck. How many times a year do you play? 3. And I'm not making this up. I've had these conversations plenty of times. So I just gave my group coaching participants this assignment. I said, just pick one bucket list item. And what can you do throughout the balance of this year, September, October, November, December? What can you do to set that up and to plan that? I've never done a girls trip. I've never done a guys trip. I've never done a fishing trip. I've always wanted to do a cruise. What's one thing you could do? Oh, it's impossible. I don't have the money to. No. What can I do? What side hustle can I create? I make great cookies. Can I start selling cookies? Can I start making, I make jewelry for people. What is it that I can do that I could create some extra income that I can be excited about to attack my bucket list? So instead of worrying about the things that I have no control over, I'm excited about checking off things in my life, because again, when you get to the end of your journey, are you going to look back and go, fuck, I'm so glad I worried about what everybody else thought and what everybody else said. And I'm glad I was worried about shit that I had no fucking control over or that was none of my business. God, I wish I could go to the park again. I wish I could feel the wind through my hair. I wish I could have rode a motorcycle. I wish I'd have learned how to play chess. I wish. Go read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. If you're serious about changing your life and you're serious about being a better person, you're serious about following the words that I say, Buy the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, and read it. And I promise you will not be the same person. But how many of you will do it? That's a great advice. I should do that. But how many of you guys will actually read The 5 Regrets of the Dying? And not only that, have a talk with your friends and your family. Like, man, I just read this book, and the number one regret of the dying was that they lived a life they thought they were supposed to live instead of living the life they wanted to live. You living the life you wanted to live? You want to live? Right? I love you guys. Please, if this impacted you, and I know it had to have, because I know it's impacted me, please share it. And not only share it, but share what you gained, what insight you gained in this podcast, in this show. What did I gain? And then inspire other people and say, hey, you know what? I've been doing a bad job of setting a positive example for how I respond to things that are going on in the world. People have asked me about the Jimmy Kimmel and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'll do an analogy. I told this to somebody the other day. I said, Bill Maher has a late night talk show too. Guess what? I don't fucking watch it. I don't really watch Jimmy Kimmel all that often, but when I watch it, it's pretty funny. And the guests are pretty inspiring. Do we all say shit that we regret? Do we all say shit that we would take back? Yeah. So instead of like, let's look within inside ourselves, shall we? And if we don't like Jimmy Kimmel, let's not watch it. And if we don't like something else, let's not have that in our life. But let's not tell other people it's wrong for them to have it in their life. The world is a beautiful place of diverseness. And if I don't like something, I scroll past it. I change the channel. I focus on what I do like and what I do love and what makes me smile and what makes me laugh. And if that over there makes you smile and laugh and love and whatever it might be, cool. Is it illegal, immoral, or unethical? Is it helping better society? Is it making you a better person? Is it making you laugh and love and live? Yeah, then do it. A lot of things I don't agree with. I think are wrong but it's your jam, not mine. Not mine. People talk about transgender and and this, that, and the other. I thought about this. I can invoke all my thoughts, but how would it be to be that person? Right? Let's put ourselves in that kid's position or that adult's position. I've been carrying a lie for my entire life. I'm gay, or I feel like a woman. I would be horrified and mortified and frustrated if I felt like that. Can you imagine the emotional anguish of having to really pretend and being confused? I don't understand that. I don't understand what it's like to think that. So it's not my place to judge or just say what's right or what's wrong. It's not. And if I have to deal with that in my life with my child, guess what? Loving, supportive, listening, seeking to understand, asking questions, right? Can we sit on this for a minute? Have you considered this? Not pointing fingers and making people feel wrong about their beliefs. Let's not do that. We're all better than that. So if I see you doing that shit, I might have to wish you well because I got my boundaries. I'm all about let's making this world a better place. Love, light, focus on solutions, love, not fear. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for listening to me because I needed this tonight as well. And Raw Unscripted isn't going anywhere. So I just talked to somebody today. I'm bringing guests back. I'm looking at booking at 2026. So quality of guests. If you dig this type of format where I'm just raw and unscripted, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you dug this. Let me know what types of subjects and topics you would want to continue having me explore. Maybe something in this conversation inspired you and say, hey, Chris, I'd love for you to talk about that. If you're not involved in the group, Raw and Unscripted on Facebook, just go in there, join us. Of course, again, like I said, hashtag no excuses coach, join the YouTube community. Make sure you hit the alert bell, support me. That's the fee for watching the show, is sharing it out, supporting what it is that I'm doing, and making the world a better place. You got a deal? You got a deal? I'm shaking on that. I love you guys. I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy some homemade chicken noodle soup and go enjoy my family. And feel really good about this conversation and the actions that I took today. So I encourage that for you. And if there's anything I could do, again, I have a group coaching program that's super, super affordable, $50 a month or $150 a month. If you want the maximum, whatever it is, the platinum, the special edition, whatever you fucking, again, labels, don't care about it. One, you get to work with me. One, you don't, but you get to work with me anyway. I don't know. I love you guys. Thank you, Nelly. Go out there and be beautiful. Thank you, guys.